If you need your documents to be translated into German for an official bureaucratic process, then this video is for you. In this video, we will talk about where and how to find a translator, a sworn translator, and 3 mistakes you should avoid when translating documents. Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from simplegermany.com, where we create English content to empower internationals to settle into life in Germany more smoothly. Now, to the first question is, where do you find translators?
Very important for any official documents, it needs to be in certified, official, sworn translator. In German, the word is beglaubigter Übersetzer. So it can't just be anyone. It can't just be a friend or someone that translates for a company. It needs to be a court-registered, kind of like translator. And there's 2 ways to find them. There is the traditional way, and that is the way that we have personal experience with. Do you want to tell about your experience?
Yes, unfortunately. No, I'm kidding. Well, the official way is that there is a database of translators that are registered in this database. If you're already in Germany, that database is handled by the Ministry of Justice, which we will link the description. We will leave the link in the description box below if you need it. And if you are abroad, then most likely your German embassy could provide you with a database of sworn translators. So on this database, it's very old school. You search by the language and the city that you live or region. Then you will get the results of all the translators that are registered and can translate your language into German. And then it depends on the translator how much information they have in this database. Some of them have a website, an email, a phone number. Others only have a phone number. Others only have an email. So it's up to you actually to contact each one individually, send them an email, ask them what you want, ask, of course, how much they would charge for such a translation.
How long they take.
And how long they take. And then you need to wait for their reply. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't. And then if you want to proceed and hire them, then you would actually send the scanned copies of your documents. Never send your original documents per post. And then in the set amount that they said that they would take, usually they would send 2 things. Number 1, an email with the documents translated in a digital copy. And number 2, an official, actually, that we receive post, like postal mail with the official translations, because you will need these official translations in original form to hand in to the bureaucratic office. I was here in Germany when I needed to do these translations, and in this case, I got the documents with an invoice with the bank information from the translator. So after I received this official postal, the documents were attached with this invoice, and then I could pay. So it was a bank transfer. So nothing digital, so to say, like automatic.
Mm-hmm. The second way to go about it is the modern digitalized way that is, in my opinion, a lot smoother because it's more transparent, less hassle, and faster. And the service provider that we know does it best is LingoKing. They are a partner of ours, and in the description box you will find a coupon code to save 10% on your translation if you'd like to use them. Now, what is cool about LingoKing? They pretty much provide all kinds of different documents. Driver's license.
Translations, you mean?
Translations of documents. Driver's license, birth certificate, marriage certificate, and more, whatever you need. You pretty much upload your documents, you select what you need, and they will do this hassle of finding the translator available for you. Typically, the translation takes around 3 to 5 days, but they also have an express service where it only takes 48 hours if you're really on a tight schedule and you need to have it fast.
Yeah, that is super fantastic because you have a guarantee that you kind of like make the deal with LingoKing and then they take care of the rest behind the scenes. Now, to translate one document at the time of recording, right? Translating one document from I put Spanish to German costs around 67 euros.
That was a birth certificate, right?
That was a birth certificate. And to translate 2 pages, did I say 1 page? 2 pages is around 37 euros.
Now, mind you, of course, there's always a caveat when something is super easy and nice to use, and that is it's not available to everyone in the world because their services are only available for 54 languages. Now, I think 54 languages is quite a lot, but not all that exist in the world. For example, we did a little bit of research. Lao, Burmese, and Turkmen is not available. Actually, we had a community member from Turkmenistan reach out to us and say, unfortunately, LingoKing did not work for them, so they had to go the number 1 route, the traditional route.
Yes, and again, with LingoKing, it's important to point out that you should never, ever send your original documents if a translator contacts you directly, which I don't see how, but just to be sure, never send your original documents per postal mail. You need to send a scanned copy always. And now a super niche good to know about LingoKing as well is that if you live in Düsseldorf and you need to translate your driver's license, LingoKing will not work. The reason why is because the Straßenverkehrsamt, which is the official transit office of Düsseldorf, requires that the translator holds your driver's license as they translate it. Remember how I said you should never send your original documents? But this is the exception. And conveniently enough, the office that does this translation is on the first floor of where the Straßenverkehrsamt is in Düsseldorf. And this company is called ADAC or ADAC, which is the largest automotive club of Germany. And like I said, it's very convenient that they happen to be in that first floor and that's the only translation that the Düsseldorf Straßenverkehrsamt accepts. And now to 3 mistakes you should avoid if you are going to translate your documents.
Number 1 is just a kind reminder to only use sworn and certified translators. Don't just go to a friend who does translations and ask them to do it, or use Google Translate.
Or use AI to translate.
Exactly. Also, I personally would not go to platforms such as Fiverr or Upwork to find a translator. You might find certified translators there, but you can also just find any who are not certified, and then those translations that you have are void. They're not valid. You cannot use them. So either use platforms like LinguaKing or the official route via the list that the German government actually provides.
And that leads to mistake number 2, which is just translating all your documents into German, because most likely you will not need all your documents to be translated into German. So the kind of like recommendation is to wait until you are asked for an official translator to kickstart the translating service process. The reason why is also because sometimes the Amt, what's the word for Amt? Like bureaucratic office?
Authority?
The authorities, thank you very much, will require translation to be, how do you say this? That have a validity of the last 6 months.
That are not older than 6 months, yeah.
Yeah, so if you translated everything before you moved to Germany and you have that, you need to retranslate it. So a word of advice is to just wait and see what the requirements are and then do your translation.
And mistake number 3 to avoid is to just go ahead and translate the document that is required, but first inform yourself about the process in your home country where those documents need to come from, in whatever case you need them. Speaking of the example that we have in your case, for when we needed Janet's documents for our marriage, we had to go through 2 steps before we could actually ask for translations. One was to get the birth certificate, because also that needs to be not older than 6 months. The excerpt from the database, as well as the proof that you were single in Guatemala from the authority that issues those documents in Guatemala. That, however, was not enough. Those documents would then need to be sent to or handed to the German embassy in Guatemala, who had to legalize and pretty much attest that those documents and the signatures on them were true and legal and valid and correct, so that there's no forgery involved. And then in this case, the Guatemalan embassy issued them in German because it was the German embassy. So that was good for us that we didn't need that translated. But in case that legalization comes in any other language, that legalization also needs to be translated. So make sure that you have all the documents in order that you actually need, and then ask them to be translated as a full package.
Yes, and just for a little bit more context, what you described is called legalization, the process. And there's another process similar to that, which is called apostille, I think if I said it correctly. And some countries have a fast track, meaning they don't need to fully go to the German embassy to have this whole process, but they can get a stamp called apostille, and then that stamp or that document certifies that this translation is legit. Unfortunately, Guatemala, when we did this process, was not part of the agreement of countries that can do apostilles. A year later, they enabled it. Thank you very much. So just be aware that either it could be a legalization or an apostille request. I hope.
And if the apostille stamp is on that official document, then of course that needs to be part of the translation as well, right? Again, why it's important to wait till everything is in order and then translate.
Now, if you're looking for official translators, remember that we have a special coupon for you that you can find in the description box below for you to use LinguaKing, which is a super easy PC service to use, which I wish I would have known about it when we did our translations. And if you're watching this video, most likely you need a translation, and maybe it's because you need a driver's license. And if that's the case, you can watch our video here, which is, or here.
There.
Our video here, which goes into detail on how to get your German driver's license. I was going to say in Germany, but that's obviously in the title. Anyways, until next time, cheers!